what we did with magazines is we really turned it a little bit on its head. And for instance, we've been sponsoring an activity called 30 Days of Fashion with ACP for the past 5 years, and we do more than just place ads. We actually don't place ads. We develop a brand engagement, customer engagement, and we have a 360-degree integration. So we understand exactly how each of our segments use media, and we make sure that we call it turning action into transaction, but we make sure that we create an event, we create brand engagement, and then we get her into the store. So we integrate to social marketing to our website, all the way down to our club card customers, which we have 3.6 million club card customers. So we activate that in store, and over the past 5 years, we have driven significant sales. The other area, particularly health, we've done a massive program that we've just started, and once again, 360-degree program with Pacific Magazines around Australia's biggest health check. And what we actually see from our tracking is when we have this, and it's not the typical just buy space, it's actually creating an event, making it compelling, using the media that's relevant to each of our segments. We had 30,000 women this year fill out a survey on their health concerns. And we actually saw a spike in our brand preference and our visitation into our stores.
And very quickly, a year out, 2 years out in terms of magazines, how you see it fitting into your portfolio of activity, where do magazines sit in that context?
Well, for us, and we've learned a lot over the 5 years that we've been developing, but we're seeing that to continue. We're going to continue the presence on digital, but what I actually see is actually having partnerships. So partnerships with, really building great partnerships with the publishers and with the magazine editors in making sure that we're developing. I mean, you guys know your readers. We know our customers, but you know your readers. So for the next 12 months, what we are really doing is actually building events and campaigns that are relevant. So we will integrate digital. We're launching an online store soon. We integrate Club Card, which is a key strategic platform for us. So it is significant for us, but the key thing is about integration.
Okay. I want to move away from less muffins to more data. So when someone comes and sells me a magazine, I don't want to know about the food tray and isn't this lovely and the coffee. Tell me something interesting about your publication that means I have to push something off a schedule, be another media, or a reason to engage as a portfolio with SMG Red or Nine's Powered or any other way that it's packaged up these days. So data and insights beyond readership and circulation about the power of the customer, power of your reader is something we are really desperate. So Steve made a point about, yes, it's up to you guys to start pushing that. I really think, we've all been ambivalent about magazines, so come and tell us a reason why we should buy more.
The criticism of the buyers is that, perhaps, to your point, it's off the radar or it's less important because of a whole lot of other things happening in terms of your attention, but not necessarily the relevance and role that magazines play in the sector, right? So that's
Well, an interesting stat is across all of the Group M agencies on television, and the spend hasn't gone up that much, but we're buying 40% more spots. So our staff levels haven't increased. So if anyone wants to come and have a meeting, where our staff are under pressure because we're actually doing more work being on digital, TV, other media, and the explosion of media representatives coming to see us is enormous. So when you come and see us, make sure you've got a really concise selling proposition rather than an hour talking about the front cover of a magazine with one of those people that should have gone to the Melbourne Cup, but talk to us about why magazines as a media multiplier will help our overall marketing strategy and media schedule.
We're certainly under a lot of pressure to redefine the concept of circulation. Both the ABC and CAB have been doing a lot of work to build a framework around the heritage that the print numbers have been providing and take into account all the touch points that masthead branded content is reaching. So we've done work in the tablet space, and we're defining metrics around paywalls, we're defining metrics around our colleagues from Europe with Zinio and the type of work they're doing with PDF activity. So, within that, we think there is a story, a good positive story to go to market with. It's about getting that model right, though, and it's a challenge that all the ABCs around the world are facing, and every sort of ABC is handling very differently. And there is some very, very complex raw drafting requirements around that, auditing requirements. The technology is moving, much faster than we can keep up. And you blink, and Apple announce or Google announce a change in policy, and it changes the work you've been doing for the last 12 months, and you're back at square one. So they're the type of challenges we're facing.
Just in my recent experience, I've had some challenges, not even in B2B per se, but just in niche segments. So I've found that when we've briefed around trying to target, whether it be, say, an ultra high net worth investor earning a particular income or having a particular profile, or whether it be a particular occupational group, that we really struggle to get exciting media plans, I would probably say. Or sometimes I've had to go and do the work and say, well, hang on, there's this publication, there's this one, and so on, just from my own research. So definitely I think there's an opportunity to work with your media agencies if you are in the niche space. I've definitely found we get a much better response on the mass publications than we do when we're going.
Amanda, you're nodding. You've got similar challenges?
Absolutely. Well, we have, but I'd say that that's where we've done things differently, because we actually have workshopped that so that we, like for instance, rather than just, we've had a media agency come back to us to say, look, rather than just, place ads, we'll actually do a beauty bible, and we've actually done webisodes and activities in store. So that innovation coming back from the media agency is really important. But at the same time, it's also working with the publishing partners. So it is actually putting the challenge out there to the media agencies to actually think a bit differently.
We've just done a similar strategy for Jeep, where we've moved from 13 different media channels to 3. And we go outside of that sometimes for a reason. We bought a magazine called Signature. Sue Brunskill's here, she chases everyone down to get the booking. But we bought it because we wanted to reposition the Jeep Grand Cherokee in the same space as a Range Rover, and we wanted a story, content that we could put on our web, magazines to go into our dealerships, and to be seen next to Credit Suisse, many European watches that normally the brand wouldn't be positioned that way. Now, it only does 2,000 a month. We've only got 50 dealers. We get runners happy, and it's working well for us, and we've sold cars off that. So it's not that we've got a magazine strategy. That was one way to reposition, like Carly was talking about before, about who we need to reach in those high net worth individuals. So there are the right niche titles that can do the job really, really well.
These two are talking about reader engagement, and the agencies have a lot of pressure, as you said, with all these, they don't want to see 15 people from one company talking about their brand. But at the same time, if you're talking about reader engagement, there are a lot of titles that are targeted to a particular brand that just have the media multiplier applied to them. So, I was just interested for advice from you. How do we actually counter that without bombarding the agencies?
Yeah.
I'll give you a really funny example. In Melbourne, the Age sales team sells the Fairfax brands, but for some reason the Financial Review Group wants to be different. Now, they haven't called us in a year. We have to call them to see them. But the Age and the Fairfax team are in our office all the time, so it would be easier if that sales force was lumped together. And in a lot of cases, we're pretty much talking about the same target market. So I think some cases where you can streamline your sales offering to get your people in, group structure selling works in Melbourne a lot differently to Sydney. I would recommend that, because you basically get to see people all the time. They get to know your business, your clients, and actually they're better informed.
How do you actually get credibility and respect and an ear of the media buyer?
Well, I think
when you're not big, Mark, when they're not the big publishing groups.
Well, what we do at Maxus in Melbourne, we have a buyers trading meeting every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and it's an update of the market for our staff. And usually, if anyone wants to come and see us, we ask them to come in on that Tuesday. We'll have the whole team there, 28 people ready to go, and that's a way to get it in. So if there's any requests like that, that's what we do by email. So our people are trained to say, yes, that's a great idea. Do you want to present to all staff? Tuesday at 11 o'clock to 12 is the way to do it. Right. And then that way it gets things happening really quickly.
And I get a lot of people that do come direct. I want people to have a relationship with my agency though as well. But in coming direct, where I get frustrated is just wanting to have I want to chat to you about here's what we do, but I do want data, but I also want ideas. So I don't just want to see what your publication looks like and me come up with all the ideas for how we might work together, come to me with an idea for, you know, your audience, you know, your readers, do some research about what we do, and then come to me with how you think a partnership could work. That means that I'm more likely to have a very quick and early engagement, because we do get a lot of approaches and I don't have time to see everyone. So I think I would prioritise those that come to me with a solution or some ideas that we could work through.
What are some real examples that you've had that publishers have brought you that you've gone, oh wow, this is probably worth looking at?
I've got an example from a few years ago when I worked on Ford, and there's the traditional Wheels, Modern Motor, Top Gear magazines. The argument was, does Ford have 6 months of the year in the inside front cover and Holden have the other 6 months? We actually said to the publication, we'll help fund it, let's do some research on an inside front cover spread versus another position, opposite contents or in the book, and see whether there's any difference in decline and stickiness to the ad and everything. So basically it came back that the inside front cover wasn't as necessary that we thought. It was an ego thing. We then actually put regular bookings in every month rather than having 6 on, 6 off, can share with our competitors. So that was one way that the client could see a real tangible advantage, and he got some research out of it, and we adopted that across many titles. Not just
Figures and more about strategy then in that particular
both,
instance?
Both. Well, that was about figures about in terms of like the typical starch results, but it was also then about a strategic way to say we wanted to be here opposite content. We get better result, cost efficiency, and we can run more ads.
Amanda's got a view on this.
Yeah, it's more about the insights that we have used to actually help us develop services and develop a cause-related strategy. So there was a great idea that it was put to us by a publishing house to actually do this massive survey, which was this Australia's biggest health check. It was so comprehensive, the study that we put out there, and as I mentioned earlier, 30,000 people this year completed it, and the year prior it was like 26,000. But we used that information to develop a whole cause-related strategy, to develop services for our pharmacies and for our businesses, to help us with our ranging. So that was, and it's a pretty big survey. I'm thinking you've got 30,000 women around Australia giving you that feedback. So I think there's kind of thinking outside the square, about what you can provide.